I love when coaches, consultants, and professional service providers want to do big things in their business. They want to rise to the top and influence their market and the world around them. They want to have a greater impact and make a more lucrative income. Well, if this is you, welcome to Expert in You podcast, the show where I interview other experts and coaches, consultants, so that they can share their success strategies with you. We're going to talk about marketing and how to close more sales, how to get more premium clients, and how to really build your visibility in the market and scale your business like a boss. If this is you, welcome to the show. I want to ask you to subscribe and hit the notification bell right now so you don't miss one episode. Grab your coffee and buckle up because we are ready to give it all to you to help you become the expert and get paid as the expert that you are. Are you a coach, consultant, or professional entrepreneur who is stuck on that low six-figure hamster wheel and you just can't seem to get to seven figures, but you have this high desire, you want to play big, you want to do big things? Well, I have just the thing for you. I am starting my seven-figure, my $1 million business accelerator mastermind mentorship program. Now, this is a high-touch, high-level cohort where you will be in the group with only 5 other high-level coaches and consultants. So you're not only going to get private, high-touch hand-holding to get to that 7 figures with a customized A to Z approach, but you will get to collaborate with other people who are on the same course as you. It will be an experience that will take your business to new levels and it will completely change your life. You can finally have that life of abundance and that business that you really want and are so excited to get up to every single day by just getting into the $1 million business accelerator mastermind with the Expert in You brand. So if you're interested in doing this, book a call with me now at acarden.com because the spots will not last. And now we are going to jump into this week's episode. I have a brilliant business coach with me, and I'm so excited to interview her. I was just a guest on her podcast, so you'll have to check her podcast out as well. We'll talk about that. And I have Marcia Riner with me. So Marcia, welcome to my show.
Oh, thank you so much, Ann. I'm so excited to be here. Yeah, we had so much fun on my show, so it's nice to be able to roll it into your show as well.
We're going to geek out on money. We are going to literally geek out on profitability, boosting profits, building your business. And this is just something that Marcia and I are super passionate about. And let me just read you her bio really quick so you can see the expert that I am talking to. And we actually have similar backgrounds. So it's been a really fun, interesting connection for both of us. So Marcia is the CEO of Infinite Profit Consulting. She's a speaker. She's a 3-time author. She's a podcast host, and she is a powerful visionary. She has big dreams, big goals, and she is doing big things. Business owners come to her looking to increase their revenue, boost profit, and maximize the value of their business. She gets proven results with her powerful profit booster system. She is able to show her prospective clients a clear pathway to profit and a great ROI to working with her team before they decide to hire Infinite Profit Consulting. Marcia and her team bring years of business and financial expertise with an outside of the box style of creativity, which helps her clients to exponentially grow their company and maximizing its value. Marcia loves being active, traveling with her little dog, and meeting interesting people. So I'm super excited to have you here. We are going to have a blast on this show.
Absolutely. Thanks, Ann, for having me. This is great.
Yes. So profits near and dear to our heart. I coached small business owners for many, many years. You've been doing it for a long time. I now work mainly with coaches, consultants, and professional entrepreneurs, but you still work in the small business sector, and profitability is something that is very underrated with people in business, especially small businesses. They don't quite get it a lot of times. Do you agree with that?
100%. And even more so when you get into the professional service arena, such as coaches and consultants and service providers. I mean, they just, they live by the seat of their pants and they don't look at it in the way that they should. And I think the real excitement comes from is if I can show them how to think about their business like a big business, then they start to go, oh,
Right.
okay, I get it. And now I can do something about it. Right. And so I think that's what that's where the real gap is with the micro-sized companies that we're talking about.
Yes, I agree. I think so many of them, and like most small businesses, a lot of times they start as a job. The person knows their trade or they know their thing. And so I started all my businesses that way. And so you get into it and all of a sudden you realize, okay, wow, something's got to change here. I'm working harder for myself than I would ever work for anybody else, right? And probably for less money most of the time.
With the worst boss and the worst employee and, working for next to minimum wage when it all taps out.
Yes.
Horrible. That's not why we got in business, right?
Exactly.
That's nowhere near the dream that we had of taking Bobby to baseball and having weekends off and being able to go and do and have the freedom and lifestyle that we wanted. We're chained to our business.
Yes.
And it becomes a nightmare.
And part of the reason for that, I had to learn this, you had to learn this, is building a business is a different skill set than doing your thing. When you do your thing, I see this even with coaches and consultants. They keep investing in them, in knowing more stuff, in learning more stuff, but they never invest in how to build a business, how to market, how to sell, how to be a great salesperson, how profitability, how to do things, financially sound. They don't understand that those are also skills that they need if they're going to be around for any length of time. And it's why, the average coaching consultant actually makes, I think it's about 95% or 97% make under $100,000 a year. And I'll bet you with small businesses, it's pretty close to that number as well.
It's the profit margin on a small business, they've got a lot of overhead. They run their lifestyle through their business. And when they start hiring and doing things like that, it starts exponentially costing them more money to run that business. And worst case situation is they end up foregoing their own salary because they want to make payroll, right?
Yes.
And it becomes a stressful situation. Yeah.
Yes. And I want you to know too, though, as businesses are growing, it doesn't get easier unless you close the gaps on your profitability, because it's like you just expand the nightmare. Right? You expand the chaos as that business is growing to millions of dollars. If you have not closed the gaps, if you have not closed the loops on things, I like to say plugging the holes. If you haven't plugged the holes in the bucket, you're leaking money, you're wasting money. It's not going to be better when you're bigger. It's just going to be a bigger nightmare. Do you agree with that? It is. The money's going to go faster.
You know what? But it doesn't have to be. And you and I both know that as experienced business owners and people who have run and sold businesses in the past and that work in this environment constantly, right? With different ideas. It doesn't have to be like that. That I think the biggest problem that the smaller companies have is that the owners are too involved, right? So if we go back to E-Myth, right? They're busy swinging the hammer. They're the technician. They're doing the job rather than becoming and thinking of themselves, however big they are.
They're
like
self-employed.
Self-employed nightmare.
Yes.
And as soon as they can shift that mindset and funny enough, I'm all about strategy and tactics and results. But the one thing I think about mindset is that when we think about how to think like a bigger business, how to act like a bigger business, even though it's just you or you and a VA or you and a couple employees, you still need to think on how would an Amazon or how would a large company run this small sector of their business. And and as soon as you can get into that mindset, it becomes easier.
It shifts everything.
Believe it or not, it's done with like systems, processes, automation, help.
Yes, there's no magic to it.
Word.
Right. You're right. I always say, think like a CEO. If you can think about what is the CEO's purpose for a company? And if you can step into the mindset of a CEO, the shoes of a CEO of your business, it will change your decisions. It will change your course. It will change how you invest your money. It will change everything in your business. And if you don't do that, you will continue to work a job for yourself. And in most cases, people burn out or they fail.
Yeah,
they burn out or they opt out because they just exhaust themselves and they never make much money doing it.
Well, funny enough, everything that I do came about because my parents were both business owners. And funny enough, mom back in the, I want to say mid 90s, she ran an amazing mortgage company and had 8 different branches, and companies like Washington Mutual and Countrywide and Bank of America came to her and said, how did you create this process of offsite processing? And so it was like really an incredible innovation back then. And so she in the mid 90s got an offer to sell her company, and she wasn't ready to sell her company. So she turned it down. It was $1 million offer back then. And she turned it down. And then, as we all know, 2008 and the mortgage crisis and all that happened. Well, a couple of years after that, she ended up closing her doors. So she gave up on that opportunity. So as a financial planner, which is what I was doing originally, I would always think about, well, what are you going to do with your company, right? My clients would come to me and they'd want planning. And I'd say, okay, so we're planning for your business, right? Because they tell me they want to sell it. What's it worth? They give me some random Shark Tank number. 12x of something.
Right.
Like,
it's worth millions.
Okay. Yes. What are we going to do to ensure that value will be there when it's time to sell? And they'd go, oh, well, I've got all these ideas and things like that, but they weren't creating the business
right
to be sold someday. And so when I work with my clients, there's always 2 benefits. There's the now revenue and profitability and growth that they're having, but there's always that secondary position of, hey, you've built an asset that you have put your blood, sweat, tears, nights, weekends, and a ton of your money into, right?
Yes.
That you want to get an ROI, a return on that investment when you go to sell it. And the only way you can do that is to think about what it takes to sell a company, what makes an attractive company. And then funny enough, that makes a really good company to own while you own it at the same time.
Yes, it's
so these strategies are really important to have those twofold pieces on it. And again, it's that thinking bigger, thinking long term, and moving your company into a position that you can sell it. And when you do, you have a great company.
And funny, Marcia, one thing that when I was coaching small business owners, I found that when we started working because they thought they wanted to sell and we started implementing the things they needed in their business, they would get to loving their business so much because now it's creating this incredible life, this incredible bank account. And they're like, well, why do I want to sell this thing?
It's easy now.
Yes,
it's easier to run now.
Exactly.
I'm happy now, right?
So it would do just the opposite. However, that being said, they still had that opportunity. I also want to hit on something that you said. I also found this out, not really. I did find it out the hard way in a way, but not to the degree that your mom did. So one thing that I didn't really understand, I knew when I was building a couple of my businesses that at some point we wanted to sell those and they could be sort of a retirement fund for us. Sure. And so that was the plan.
Yeah, because business owners don't invest in their own retirement, do they?
That's true. Yeah, that's true. So I knew that was a goal and a vision for that company and for those businesses. And so I didn't mind reinvesting back into the business and building up the asset and all of that. However, here's what I will tell you. Before the recession, that business was at its peak, but I was not, it was my baby. They were my babies. I did not want to sell them. I wasn't ready to get out. I wasn't ready to sell them. And then the recession hit. And so then when I ended up selling, I lost probably half of what I could have sold it for had I sold it in the peak. And the reason I want to talk about this is because this is a really valuable lesson for people. You can always start something else, right? But know the right time to sell, and don't wait until you're miserable and burned out or things go downhill. And in fact, nobody wants the business in that. Now, my business was still in a good place, but what I mean is I could have got so much more for it if it would have exited when it was at the high, and not when it was okay. It was still okay.
So here's the analogy, right? When you're talking about investments as well, which is, my backbones and stuff, but it's like, what is it? It's you buy low and sell high, right?
That's right.
You need to sell it at its peak when it looks fantastic and it's attractive, and you've got a stream of customers coming through, and you've got contracts and engagement and people working in the right position in the right place, and everything's just humming along perfectly. Then it's like, ooh, this is a really good business, right? Then you can charge a higher multiple of revenue, right? Or potential sales or contracts that you have on or assets that you hold in there. And you can get that higher price for it when it's at its peak. But so many people, like you said, well, I'm not ready.
Yeah. Or they sell it when they're completely burned out and exhausted, and then they give it away. That's the other thing.
Exactly, which breaks my heart. It really does. So that's why I always, from day one, position your business like you're going to sell it. Do all the things you need to, whether it's, owner involvement, positive increasing cash flow, whether it's, having a great team that really understands your customers and the things that you do, fantastic continuous marketing that's going on. You've got all the engines running on all cylinders and it's just purring along. If you can do that consistently, again, you create this fantastic business now, but then you're in a position, well, hey, something interesting's over there. Let's go over there and let's get rid of this. Or let's bring in a team to keep it running while I go off and do something else. There's 100 exits you can have.
Right. That's a great place to expand. Yes, absolutely.
So giving yourself opportunities, right? And opportunities only come to those that are prepared to take them. So prepare your business constantly. And again, I know we kind of got on that exit, path, but it really makes the company profitable now. Yes.
It's so true. And everything that you're saying, and you can't read the label when you're inside the bottle, right? And so when you're in the bottle, you can't see the other opportunities that are even presenting themselves. I know in the 2008 recession, before I sold those two businesses, I expanded and I opened two more. So I already had those up and going before I sold the other two. And it was really great because I got to actually put my time and effort where I was really lit up and excited because they were new. But had I not had my business running the way it was running, it was very turnkey. I had employees. I didn't have to be there anymore. I needed to have my hands in it, but I didn't have to be there. I was still the CEO, but I was able to go to the other two businesses and run those and kind of go back and forth. And yes, that was a lot. It was a lot, but had I not had my business in a place where I could do that, that wouldn't even have been an option. And that turned out well because I was able to sell all four of those businesses later on. And it changed our lives financially significantly. But had I stayed in I'm going to do this myself and I'm not going to grow and it's all about me and nobody can do it like I can do it. Yeah. Does any of that sound familiar?
No.
How many people think that? Right. I'm afraid to let go because they can't do it. Yes. I was just having this conversation with one of my clients yesterday about her business. And I said, look, You can't grow this big business and have this big vision and have these big things happen if you're still holding on so tight to control of everything that's going on. It's not going to happen. Your growth is going to happen from you letting go of things and letting other people, even if it's not perfect at the beginning, you can get it to practically perfect but if you don't ever let go, you're in the same place a year from now.
Yep. That's that control factor that all of us have, right? We entrepreneurs are a strange bird. We have
We're
this
weirdos
freak,
for sure.
High risk tolerance. So we think, we'll suffer and martyr ourselves through the rest.
Just bring on the stress. Bring it on. We love it.
I know, it's crazy. It's crazy. But yeah,
we're definitely different animals, aren't we?
Exactly. And the great thing about that is that we're in a fantastic place to do it, right? Being an entrepreneur, whether you're a professional service or you're a brick and mortar or light manufacturing or whatever, you're in the smaller range. And that smaller range is generally under 5 to 10 million in revenue is small, right? We're not talking to the people that are actually trying to get out of the gate and make the cash register ring for the first time. I know at least my clients have to have some momentum going. But when you think about that range, right, there's so many opportunities. There's so much that you can do to really enhance your own family's lifestyle and the things that you want if you just think about it the right way and you do the right things and I'm gonna call it out. I'm gonna call the elephant in the room and say you get help.
Yes.
You ask people that have done it before, that know the shortcuts and the tricks, that can come in and pull the levers that need to be pulled that maybe you couldn't see because you were inside the bottle trying to read the label, right?
That's right.
And when you can do that and you can invest in the shortcuts, right? And do and grow the business at the scalability you want. And we're not talking, market domination in Amazon. We're talking about growth, just consistent growth. It can be done. And these kind of companies are super attractive. Super, super attractive out in the market.
I want to bring up one more thing when we're talking about exiting and we're talking about, waiting too long and all those kinds of things. So this is something that everyone really should be aware of. There are coaches out there teaching people how to acquire small businesses where the business owner is burnt out and ready to go. And they're teaching them how to pick up that business for little to no money and turn it around and make it really turn it into something. You should be aware of that. There are people teaching people how to pick up your business for nothing. Okay.
Never take an unsolicited offer. Sorry. Was that a little rough?
It's so true, though, because I see so many people, they start out, they're like going to create this job for themselves. And then their business kind of grows. And I've even seen people say, I tried growing and I don't want all that. I'm just going to go backwards. Well, here's the reality. You didn't learn the skills to up level. You did not do the work to learn how to grow your company in a way that it can now it can change your life. You said it. Business has changed my life. I'm so passionate. You can build wealth with your business. There's nothing else out there that can have the return that business can have. I don't care. Stocks, I don't care. I don't think there's anything that you have control over that can have the return as a business. You have control. You are in the driver's seat. The stock market, you're not in the driver's seat, right?
Real estate, you're not in the driver's seat. Whatever the Bitcoin and the fungible tokens or whatever
it's all
they call
gambling. But business isn't a gamble. Correct. If you think about it in the right way and you learn the skills and you get the help and you do things smart, and don't think that you have to work harder to make more money. That isn't the case. We know better, right? That's what scale versus grow means. Scaling is making more money doing less. Grow is grow. Exhaustion.
I call scale. I love the way people have different variations of it, and I think they're all 100% true. But I like to think of growth and scale as a Christmas tree, right? Is that your growth is you're gonna max out your capacity, right? And you're gonna sell as many whatevers that you can,
whatever widgets, how many widgets.
You're working to your limit, right? Mm-hmm. And then you scale, which is the infrastructure to help you go to the next level. So it's this little Christmas tree move that you have to constantly be working. So you scale with one person, you reach your max, or you grow, with one person and you reach your max. So now the next step is, how do I bring on more people to help me get to the next level? That's a scale function.
Right.
So I love it. And both of them are essential.
Yeah.
With any business, because if you're not growing and you don't scale to support the growth, then you're dying. You're going to be taken over by the competition, by inflation, by whatever else is going on out there. You'll get run over.
Yes. I mean, you're right. I think some of us do have a little bit different definitions, but we are still saying the same thing.
Exactly.
And my version of scale is growth with higher profits and doing less. As an owner. That's my version of scale.
Love it.
Yeah.
And it's perfect because that's the results you get from doing the right stuff.
That's right. That's exactly right. So you have to be able to close the gaps. You have to stop the money leaks. You have to plug the holes in the bucket so that when your company grows, when you're scaling your business, you're not losing bigger amounts of money because you haven't done the basic fundamentals that it takes 100%. To really grow without 100%. Chaos, without exhaustion, without all of those things that most people try to grow with. So, all right, give us some cool profit tips.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So, one of the coolest things that, I know you're the same way. There's so many really sexy and exciting strategies that you can put in play and you can go after, and you can go, oh, I'm going to AI my marketing, right? I'm going to put it and have it write all my email letters and you can do all this sexy stuff, which is fun. But what I find is many business owners have immediately gotten into business and jumped to the 5th floor. And they have forgotten about the foundational stuff that absolutely needs to be in place all the time, because otherwise you have this wobbly house of cards.
Yes,
right?
It all is ready to collapse.
Exactly. So I'm all for the sexy, fun, exciting strategies that you can implement, but really going in and working on the basic stuff. And one of the basic strategies I love to talk about, and I usually get right out of the gate with this with every one of my private clients that I work with, and when I work with my group people, I get them started on this before we go on to something else. And as basic as it is, and as crazy as it is, you need to look at your expenses, right? So many of us, our accountants and our bookkeepers and our tax professionals most of them are looking backwards.
I was just going to say they're the backwards
people. They're looking
people.
at what you've already done, and they're looking at how can they save you money on all the mistakes you've already done.
I'm glad you're talking about this.
And there's a lot of CPAs and professionals out there that look forward, but they're harder to find. So when we're looking at our financials, which is the foundation of running a company, if you have more money going out that is not producing a revenue for you, then it's probably affecting your profitability and your bottom line. So one of the little tips that I'm going to give your team or your audience today is something just as simple as asking 3 questions. For every dollar that goes out of your business, right, an expense, does it produce a client? Right. Does it increase the value of that client? Right. And then does it does it keep a client? So does it make a client, keep a client, or create the long-term value of a client? And so when you're looking at that expense there, my cell phone, does it make do I make calls to clients on the cell phone? Yes, it's good. So does marketing? Yes, right? So you start looking at your expenses and you say, does it increase? Does it make a client, keep a client, or increase the lifetime value of a client? And if you can't honestly answer that question to that expense, maybe you want to park it for a little while, right? We all run our lifestyle through there. Oh, I got my wife's phone or my husband's car loan in here. Oh, but the taxes, I can write it off. It's messing with your bottom line and your profitability. So my thought to you is lean out those expenses, and only the expenses that help you run the company should be run through the company. And then look at your bottom line. And honestly, if you're at 3 to 5%, you're probably not doing very well.
Right.
I mean, in reality, I would love to see most businesses in the double digits. So we're talking 10, 15, 20% profitability, maybe even higher. Professional service firm.
And she's talking net profits, by the way. She's talking about the bottom line, not gross.
What you walk away with and put in your pocket at the end. Now, there are
bottom right-hand corner of those P&Ls.
There are two factors to expenses. One set of expenses are your cost of goods sold, right? So that's your expense that for every item you sell, the cost of goods sold went into making that item or making that service or whatever. You sell more, that gets it more expensive. You sell less, it gets less expensive. If you don't sell any, then it probably didn't cost you much at all.
Yeah.
Those are variable costs. Then you've got your fixed costs, which is your overhead and things that don't necessarily attribute to the sale of the product, that if you sold 0, you still owe that number.
Right.
And so you want to look at those things and you want to lean them out as much as you can possibly do until you're kind of a fat cat. And then you could start running your kids through your business, and you could start running, additional expenses, and you can run your Costco bill and write off all the things that you have on there.
And when she's talking about fixed, she's talking about something like your rent. Your rent, you're going to pay regardless, whether you sell a widget or not. Your rent is going to have to get paid, right?
Correct.
So just showing people the variables.
The fixed and variable and things, but don't look at them once a year.
You should have real time.
Quarterly at the worst case scenario. And a financial audit can be done with a glass of wine at the kitchen table. It doesn't have to be too painful, but look through them. Vendors. Do I really need that vendor, or is there another vendor that's pricing better or could offer me some terms that might be beneficial? I mean, there's so many little nuances when it comes to expenses that we can cut costs.
I want to bring something up too. When you're talking about growth and you're talking about, hiring employees and even contractors or whatever that is, here's something too. And I know you'll agree with this, Marcia. Everyone needs to bring in, everyone needs to be an asset to your business. And either they're paying for themselves is what I'm trying to say
100%.
here. In some way, shape, or form. So even if you have an admin person, for example, and they're taking things off of your plate so that you now can go sell, so that you now can go grow, you can do the things you need to do, then in a sense, that person is paying for themselves. But a lot of people bring in employees and they don't have expectations of that employee. And so that employee becomes a drain on the company versus an asset to the company. And that's where you really have to assess these things, and you have to be in constant assessment, because as your business grows, your needs change. And I just actually today made a shift with one of my VAs and put him on hold for a couple of months as I'm making a change in my business, because if I didn't do that, I was just throwing money down the drain. It wasn't something that I need right now because my business has taken another direction. And so if I wasn't in constant assessment of that, you end up just throwing money down the drain and wasting money, and you don't get the results for it.
Exactly. It's a real good activity to reassess these things, not only because of Well, the person's doing a job, but maybe they're not bringing in the money that, you got a $60,000 salary and they're not bringing in 60,000 of revenue, but it's freeing up time, like you mentioned. But the other thing that is really important when we look at our entire business is that there's always opportunities to innovate processes and people and systems.
True.
And oftentimes when you innovate, right, you end up having less need for a lot of labor,
extra people.
Right. Yes. With the craziness and I'll bring in AI again, with the craziness of AI, maybe with this assistance of AI to help write the letters and the strategies and the processes that you need to have rewritten. Now you realize, well, okay, it's written. I don't necessarily need that person to write them anymore. Right now, that's really crazy because I'm in Southern California and we're in the midst of a writer's strike right now for the entertainment industry, and that's a big piece of it. But I think that we all have to we have to look at our businesses. The purpose of business, every single business out there ever is to produce a client and to make a profit.
That's right. And
if you
serve and make money.
If you can do those two things and you can lean out your company and do it efficiently and effectively, then maybe you're going to spend less money.
And this is also, I know this, you've worked with people this way. I've worked with people this way. A lot of times they hold on to people out of loyalty. And as sad as this sounds, because we see it in corporate, the big layoffs, all of those kinds of things, which is why you should have your own business, people. I'm just saying. But it's the sad thing about that is because if a business is really on top of their business, they are going to be consistently making those changes, or they're not going to be around. We've watched huge companies that we never dreamed could go out of business. We never dreamed they would. But because they weren't quick to make decisions, because they weren't quick to keep things assessed, or I've even seen small businesses, they've held on to people too long. And I have to say, in all honesty, I did this, right? I was loyal. This person's been so great. They've, and you would hold on to them too long. And
it's like your kids. They stay in the house too long, right?
It's to the detriment.
On the payroll too long, right?
Yes, but it's to the detriment of your business.
It is.
Or you have a bad egg that needs to go. I've dealt with this with a lot of business owners where they hold on to that person because they're afraid if that person leaves, they'll take everyone with them. And those things typically never happen, but prepare for them. But you can't be afraid. You can't be held hostage by employees. You can't be afraid to make the shifts or move them into a different position, which is what I always tried to do. Okay, our business is going this direction. This is what I need now. I would love to move you into this position, train you here. And if they couldn't go with that flow, a lot of times there was no choice but for them to leave because they couldn't grow with the company. Can't stay in one place because you don't think I should grow, or because, and so these things might sound harsh, but they are real things that you have to think about when you're growing your business.
100%. There's so many, business owners we know, once you start bringing on more people and more moving parts in the business, there's more to consider and think about, which is a big fear of growth, right? And a problem to your profits. But at the same time, you've really got to look at all the moving parts and think about how can I be super efficient and super effective. And by doing that, that's the lean method, right? The leaning out your business in ways that really helps the profitability on the long haul. And again, with the two goals, create a customer and build profit, create profit.
Right. Don't get confused what the purpose of your business is. Yeah. I see this with coaches and consultants, getting a little off the subject, but I still want to talk about this and sometimes with entrepreneurs, but coaches and consultants, they want to make an impact. They want to make an impact. Their heart is to make an impact.
They're bleeding hearts.
Yeah. And yes. And they are confusing charity with business. And I always say, build the heck out of your business, make a heck of a lot of money, and then give it all away if you want to, but have a profitable business that can be around. So
yeah, it really does so much more. You can do so much more in your community with your family and the charities that you want if you have a very profitable business.
Absolutely. What do you think are the biggest problems that people are facing right right now in business at this time?
I think it's always the concern with business owners is, where's the economy going? Where's the market going? Right? Are we going into a recession? Is the supply chain going to affect us? Am I going to be able to, even in the professional services firm, can I find adequate help to help me grow, right? So it's always, I guess, the biggest thing that gets me when I see business owners that are stuck, and the word is fear.
Yes.
They're coming from this fearful place of, it will
stop you in your tracks.
It does. It really does. Yeah. So if you can, live in that, abundance lifestyle or momentive lifestyle, right? You're moving, right?
Yeah.
If you stay still, you can be fearful. If you're moving and shifting and, you're thinking of that sailboat that's tacking in the wind, or, that moving football player or whatever, trying to avoid the tackle. If you're moving, you're still good, right?
So good.
And I think
don't be stuck in your ways.
Yeah. I think that's
you have to be an innovator.
The biggest thing that businesses face is that stuckness or that fear. And it trickles down through all the other problems and boosts them up.
And by the way, a lot of times that's because you stay stuck in the bottle and you cannot see outside the bottle. And if you get outside of your business and you start exposing yourself to bigger things, to bigger people, to people doing bigger things, to more success, you will start thinking and acting and moving like those people instead of trying to build your business in a vacuum.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So I think fear is the biggest. The second one is always, where am I going to get my next client? Right. Where's the next customer coming from? And that is purely a position of understanding the data and the marketing that you're able to do. Right. It's moving forward. There's always, if you imagine the funnel, right, there's so many different analogies for funnels in business, but you've always got to have people coming in on the top.
Yes.
Right? You've always got, and that also is a product of momentum.
Yes. And it's really, I just want to, it's something that just came to my mind that I had heard from a coach many years ago. I went to one of his conferences and he would tell stories about owners that would get so distraught and would sit there like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? My business is bleeding money, blah, blah, blah. And he would say, get out of your office and go market and sell. Like marketing and sales will fix a business practically overnight. Yeah. Bring in business. That should be your number one goal, is to bring in business. And then as you get that flow going, but if you ever get to a point where you are stuck, get out of your chair and go bring in business. That will go a long way, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
So we could talk all day. I said we were going to geek out on this stuff. So there's foundational pieces to that as well, right?
That's true. It's having those pieces instead of going, oh, well, I'm just going to go out and make more calls, right? Well, they may not be effective calls. Your closing rate could be 1 out of 10.
Strategy.
What if you made your closing rate 2 out of 10 and you had some help to improve that, or 3 out of 10?
But any action is going to be better than none.
100%.
I see people sitting there worrying, fearful, whining, complaining. Yep. And it's like, well, what have you done today to actually go make some money and build your business? And
if you don't want to make the sales, hire somebody to make the sales.
Someone to
You're
do
still
it.
Getting half of something is better than 100% of nothing.
Yeah, we could talk about this all day. This has been so fun. You have a brand new book out. Share your book.
Yes, I do. My third book, Boosting Business Profit. It's a pathway to highly profitable business. And there's about a dozen different strategies in there that I talk about that are foundational, right? Mm-hmm. You remember I said we got to get to the foundational stuff before we start pulling in the sexy strategies, but I'm always sprinkling the fun stuff in there, but they're really impactful. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it just takes us to take a step back. I used to say this in the financial world. It's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, right? So you always have to step back every once in a while and look at your business business and find ways to strengthen it so you can scale and grow like the Christmas
That
tree.
is a growth mindset, my dear.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Marcia. This has been fun. I know we could just go on and on because we just love talking business. I mean, I think we've been talking it all afternoon, haven't we?
We have, but you know what? Two kindred souls, they get together and all these flowers bloom. So,
all right, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another episode. Please share the episode. People need to hear this. They need to get, we give it all away to you on this show. We are real. We are bold. We are raw about things on this show. And so share this, get this out there. People need to hear this. They need to hear reality, not fluff. We're not about fluff. We're about reality. So this has been a great episode, and get out there, share it. Also, let us have feedback. We love your feedback. Connect with us, connect with Marcia, and make sure that you subscribe to Expert in You podcast. And then Marcia, what's the name of your podcast?
Profit with a Plan.
And subscribe to Marcia's as well. So Thank you, everyone. God bless you. Have an amazing day, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye. If you've enjoyed this episode, I want to invite you to go check out a free training that I have at expertinu.us. It is a training that I have on how you can get ultra premium dream clients, scale your business, get more freedom, and really simplify your business and multiply your money. So go check that out. And again, that is expertinu.us. I want to thank you for being here with me this week. I hope you found massive value. Please always leave a comment, feedback, or a question. We check them all. And I want you to go rock your business, and make sure you join us again next week. God bless you. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.